I think I was born unready for everything. I didn't expect this to happen, you know?
To be honest, all humans are born unready compared to like other animals. We're born,
Yeah.
we can't walk, you can't defend yourself, you're a little slab
hmm
of meat, a little slab of
Yeah.
fat.
We come into the world crying, and we cry for a long time because our instincts are like to get help. Like, we need help. That's what the crying does, you know? How did humans even survive at first? Because we've always like just cried, I guess.
We're all crybabies. I'm sure there's other animals as well that probably aren't very tough when they're born. Like a lot of
hmm
birds, when birds are born, their
Oh,
mothers have to
true.
chew up their food and stuff for them.
Yeah.
So I guess it depends what the animal is.
Yeah, but they're hidden like up in the trees in a nest. We're
True.
just like out there. We don't have a nest.
We were in maybe a little cave or something in the
Yeah.
walls inside. Anyway.
Anyway,
Hello and welcome back to the Ghost Book Archive. This is Chapter 7, and today we're talking all about dreams and nightmares. I'm Ryan, and as always, I am joined by my co host, Zilver.
hello.
Is that the first time I did an intro all in one without having to
Yeah,
restart? Is
you
that the
you
first
slayed
time?
that.
I'm there. I'm just.
You're
This is
there.
it. I'm so back. I'm so back. I'm
You're
I'm in the
back.
I'm in the mood of recording content again. Obviously, after a while of
Wow,
not
good
doing it.
job.
Yeah.
I could never.
You could. You're getting better. You're getting better at reading. You're getting better all sorts. Although last time you did have your most stumbles ever, but you were drunk in your defense, and you read your
Yeah.
longest story in your defense. So I do think you're
Yeah.
getting better as well. You get more comfortable the more you do it.
I'm not comfortable at all, but
You'll never be.
if it seems that okay, yeah, I'm never comfortable, that's true. I'm
Yeah,
just perpetually uncomfortable.
that should be just your new little tagline in your social media
Mm,
bios. Perpetually uncomfortable.
that's
Perfect.
me.
So, dreams and nightmares. Personally, for me, dreams are something I've been interested in for a very long time. It's one of my favorite
hmm
subjects. I love thinking about dreams. I love dreaming. I keep a dream journal app on my phone. I record my dreams. I love thinking about them. I've even got a fantasy novel series that's based around dreams. So, dreams is a very
Mm.
big thing for me. What would you say your interest in dreams? How would you rate your interest in that subject?
I am interested in dreams. I do like at some points I write them down, especially if they're interesting.
Mm.
And I did keep a dream journal at some point, and especially like nightmares and stuff. I like writing down just to see like what is going through my head, you know.
I think it's really helpful to write them down because I hate when I wake up and then throughout the day you forget the dream and days later you never remember the
Yeah.
dream anymore. And I've always hated the fact that I maybe wake up from something that was so interesting or terrifying or whatever, and I forget it over time. And so that's
Yeah.
why I started using a dream journal years and years ago. I must have started using it maybe eight years ago or something. I started using a dream
Wow.
journal app. And I just because I really hate the idea that I just lose those memories forever. It's so strange that you just
Right.
lose those memories. I
Yeah,
don't
they
you don't
go away
lose your
so
memories day to
easily.
day. It's so strange.
It's like your brain knows that that was a dream, so it categorizes it as like not important.
Yeah,
But
that's
like
yeah.
it could be important, you know?
Yeah.
Like
I think the
some
only
dreams
ones
have
that
meanings.
yeah. The only ones you ever seem to remember are ones that are maybe really traumatic or really out
Oh,
there and
true.
shitty. Then you suddenly get
True.
little flashbacks. I've had a few when I
Mhm.
was younger that I just never forgot them, even though I wasn't writing them down, and I could
Mhm.
remember because they were really terrifying or horrible dreams. So
Yeah,
that's
same.
definitely yeah. But you can develop your ability to remember them simply by writing them down. It is actually amazing because
Mhm.
I didn't believe it when I first started writing them. I was reading online all these forums and stuff, and people are saying the more you write it down, even if you only remember a sentence, write that sentence
Mhm.
down. And it gets your brain into the habit of trying to remember more and more. And eventually,
Right.
you'll be able to remember all of your dreams. And you just keep writing and writing and writing and writing and writing. Because most people don't even remember the dreams they had the night before. And everyone has
Mhm.
multiple dreams every night,
Mhm.
but most people don't remember any of them. And that's insane to me. And I wish I remembered them all because they're so interesting.
Mhm. My biggest thing is if I want to remember dreams, I always like try to when I wake up, I immediately just go through the dream in my head. and
Mm.
then eventually like write it down, because if I think about something else when I wake up, I won't remember the details, you know.
That's exactly it. That has to be the first thing you do, because
Mhm.
you wake up from the dream, you can maybe sort of remember it because you woke up during
Mhm.
it. But if you wait, the longer you wait, it slowly fades away. If you wait 5 minutes, you've
Right.
forgotten half of it. You wait half an hour, you've forgotten 90%. You wait an hour, it's all gone. You don't remember a thing. So it is important to write it all down right away.
Dreams are very strange.
And today, that's kind of what we're talking about, I suppose. So we have both prepared a story, which we're going to get to in a little bit. We have basically taken a real dream or nightmare that we've had, and we have adapted it into a little story. We're not going to get to that yet. What we're going to do first is we're going to just have a little talk about some other dreams or nightmares that either of us have had that we find are interesting and maybe worth having a little discussion about. So, is there something that you have dreamt about that really sticks out to you?
Yeah, because I do have a few, but the one that keeps like coming up is when I had a dream about totally spies chasing me and trying to kill me. So that was like a nightmare feeling. When I woke up, I was like, because that was a scary moment. But thinking about it, it was just totally spies.
Okay, but did you ever find out why they were chasing you?
Okay, no, all I remember is that like I was locking myself in the bathroom trying to get away from them, and then they like came down from the ceiling and like with the wires and like shot down, and they had like
Mhm.
guns and stuff.
That is actually, I'm not sure if that is frightening or not. I can't decide.
I
I'd be
know,
like,
because they're coming to
totally
get you.
spies?
They're coming to get you, but they're like in these cute little red and green and yellow outfits and
Yeah, they're
with
essentially the Power
lipsticks.
Rangers.
Right. Better than Power Rangers.
I've never been a fan of Power Rangers.
Me neither. I used to watch some of it, but like, it just, I don't know. Not
Not
my thing.
No, it was never my thing either. For me, I have this one's kind of similar to you in the sense that it was quite terrifying, and it was that I had a dream not too long ago that there was this
Hmm.
bug man at my door, and he reminded me of the Iron Giant for some reason, which I love, one of my favorite films, top four. But yeah, I don't know why this bug man reminded me of the Iron Giant. I think he was some sort of moth, which is why he would be frightening me. So maybe it was the
Hmm.
eyes of the Iron Giant. Maybe that's why the moth eyes. I can see those. I don't know
Mm.
why I'm thinking just big, huge, horrible, bright eyes. Very lanky, very unusually long legs. And he was just
Oh.
hanging around outside the door of my flat, just in the
Hmm.
stairwell. He was just standing outside the door and he refused to go away. He was just standing there, basically
What?
peeking through the letterbox. Hi Ryan, are you gonna let me come in? That sort of thing. He's waiting. He wants me to let him in
Mm.
my house. And I'm like, no way, you are terrifying. Eventually, he gave me something. I think he put it through the letterbox. I don't remember what that thing was. And he did seem friendly, but there's no way I want to interact with the Mothman. That's for sure.
Yeah, I don't like that. Like, standing at your door. There's like two huge spiders that like are in the doorway to my grandma's place. And I keep like trying to dodge them each time.
Why don't you just get
And
rid of them?
I don't want to touch that
Oh yeah,
shit.
you're too scared.
Yeah. Besides, they're outside. I don't want to disturb their peace, you know?
But they're disturbing your peace of mind.
Yeah, if they're inside, I will kill them. If they're outside, I try to leave them because.
You're such a murderer.
No, I'm kind. I just don't like them.
I'm sure lots of murderers have said that about people they've killed. I'm kind, but I don't like that person.
That's different, okay?
Okay, if you say so.
Don't pretend like you never kill bugs.
I didn't say I didn't.
Okay.
Fuck bugs. Do you have another dream you'd like to talk about?
I keep having really good dreams for like writing about them. I kind of don't want to talk about them so I can write a story about it, but I also, yeah, I've already like written part of a book that I'm thinking about writing one day, and it's based on a dream.
Hmm.
I'm not talking about that because it's a book, so. I
Yeah,
won't
you can't
say
spoil
anything
it.
about them. There was a dream I had like yesterday, I think,
Okay.
or the day before. It was like a huge like building, like skyscraper, and it was like a game show,
Mhm.
and everyone was supposed to like hold on to the building the longest, and people just fell down, and there was nothing to like catch people.
So they
But
just died.
no, nobody died. They just landed
Fell into
and
nothingness.
no, they fell on the ground, but I could always like see them getting up and walking off. I don't get how, because it was a tall building, but
Maybe it was
somehow
their
they were
ghosts that got
fine.
up. Or maybe it was zombies. Maybe they
Yeah,
died and they came back as zombies and the zombies got up and walked away.
yeah, I don't know, but I was one of the contestants up there, and I was like super strong, and yeah,
Of course
at
you
the
were
top,
super strong. That's always your
I was
thing. You're
at
like,
the top
I'm so
of the building.
strong.
Somebody was trying to push me down, but I was like, "You can't push me down. I'm too strong." That's the kind of dreams I had. Yeah.
Love that. Love
Hmm.
that. I had one not so long ago where I was in this little village. It was like in the
Hmm.
third world somewhere. I don't know where it was. It was this little village, and the only person who spoke any English was like the chief of this little tribal village. And for
Hmm.
some reason, these people thought I was some sort of god. I don't know what I had done to convince them of this. Maybe it was technology I had, maybe it was something I said or something I did. I don't know. But they believed I was some sort of god. And so I had this dream where I was in this little village and it was on the beach, this little village. And I was speaking to the tribal chief. And I hate sand. Anyone who knows me, I
Hmm.
hate sand. And for some reason, I decided to tell this tribal chief to ban sand because sand came from the devil and it was evil. And so I got him to convince all of the village people to
Hmm.
scoop up the sand and put it in little plastic bags and throw it into the ocean. And
Hmm.
so I just had this dream of all these little tribal people scooping up sand off all
The
the beach.
hell?
They were scooping up the beach and throwing
Mhm.
it into the ocean. It was a very
How would
strange
that
one.
work? The ocean
I
would just like bring it back. But okay.
yeah,
Uh,
I don't
First
know.
thing, you've got a god complex. I've got a strong complex, but you got a god complex. And
Perhaps
also, you've talked about like banning sand from the world before,
I have.
so that comes from reality.
A lot of my dreams do seem to kind of mix
Mm-hmm.
back and forth. Like this other one I'm going to tell you, it was a very this one was a bit disgusting and strange. I think I
Mm-hmm.
might have told you this one before, but it was a couple of months ago, and I think I was on a train or something, and someone on this train handed me a strange, huge vape. It was just like a vape, a handheld vape, and for some reason I just took it and I took a hit of the vape, but it wasn't actually a vape. It was a nose hair trimmer. And I breathed in a bunch of nose hairs that were already in this trimmer because it had been used. And I was so grossed out and I was so angry at the man who gave me it. And
You
I
didn't
thought
tell me about
it
this.
was so random.
What the hell?
They handed me a vape. I'm like, oh, thanks for the vape. I don't know why. I don't like why did I do a vape? I don't vape. But this guy just hands me a vape and I go, oh, thanks. And I go, and I just inhaled. I sucked in these nose hairs straight into the back of my throat. It was the most awful feeling thing. I think,
What the hell? Why
I
would
think,
you?
but I think it's related to around that same time I had the dream. I had a
I'm
nose hair
crying.
trimmer, but the nose hair trimmer had like it had stopped working, so I needed to order
Mm,
a new one. So I think that was maybe on my mind. So
mm.
I think it was something to do with that, but. It was so horrible. The feeling of when I just took this vape and I thought I'm going to take in the vapor, but instead it was just nose hairs.
I can't even. What? That's horrible. And also, like, how did your brain come up with like that scenario? Like, no, this is actually a nose hair trimmer.
Yeah, that
Dreams
was
are
horrible.
evil.
I have a lot of them like that. That was so awful.
Oh my god, I actually cried listening to that. There's this dream I probably had like when I was a kid, but I remember it because I was in my room and suddenly like a bunch of bees came in and attacked me, like a like a lot of bees,
A lot of these.
and that's all I remember. Like, but I still remember it somehow, even though I had the dream as a child. So
Just
bees.
so, would you say now you're scared of bees? No, you're not, because when I was in Norway, you were trying to help a little bee, so you're not scared of them.
Well, I am scared, but also it's not the worst. Insect, I would say.
You were getting pretty close to that one bee in Norway, though.
Yeah, but that was it. It was like dying.
Okay.
I felt bad for it.
So if it was a healthy bee, you'd be like, ah, it's a bee.
Yeah, maybe. If it's like flying really fast towards me, I would run, you know?
Yeah. Another really silly dream I had. This one was actually a nightmare. This is so stupid. I was I had a dream. Well, right. I don't know if you've ever heard before, but people often I've seen on social media people say, "Why do you never have your phone in your dreams?" And I don't know
I
if you can
do.
relate to that, but I do as
I
well. I
do.
always argue with people because they're like,
Yeah.
"No one ever has a phone in their dreams." I'm like, "I do." So I've
I
never
like
related to that.
fully have like a whole dream where I'm just on my phone texting someone and
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah,
that's
me
a
too.
boring dream. Why would I
But there's a
dream
lot
that?
of people online I see and they argue and they say, "Why is it that we have our phones all day but no one ever dreams about their phones?" And most people seem to
I
agree with them when
do.
you read the comments of these posts. I swear, go on Reddit, go on
Wow.
Twitter, search up
The
these things
hell?
and I guarantee there's lots of people saying this sort of thing.
Are
Anyway,
we
I
just
had one
special?
sort of nightmare where
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to have a I don't know who I was talking to, but I was texting on my phone and I was texting to someone and for some reason I was trying to type the term poop transplant. I was trying to tell someone about a poop transplant. I don't know what that has to do with anything, right? But I was so annoyed and it was a nightmare because I had to type this. It was very important. It was vital that I type this out because I don't know what was going on, but it was important I typed in the words poop transplant. But every time I typed it in, my phone kept autocorrecting it to PSP painting. And so every time I typed
What
poop
the fuck?
transplant, it changed to PSP painting. And I would delete it and I'd type it in again and it would change to PSP painting again. And it was just going on and on. And I was getting so angry at my phone and I was worrying. I still feel the anxiety right now, even thinking about the dream. I was so like, I just need to type in these words. And it wouldn't let me type in the words poop transplant. It just kept coming up PSP painting.
Well, that's some phone anxiety going on.
Yeah.
I feel like you have a lot of stupid dreams. You
Yes. A
literally
lot.
do.
A lot.
I do too, but it's a different type of stupid. Like the nose hair trimmer thing is just a. I don't. What?
That's actually hilarious, though. I can imagine
Yeah, it
that in some
is.
really stupid movie or something.
Yeah. You should make a skit or something out of that.
That'd be a
Like a
hilarious TikTok.
little. Yeah, make a TikTok.
Just a TikTok. Just have a vape or
Yeah.
something. And just spit out the hair. That'd
Let's
be
do that. Let's do that when you come over here. I
yeah,
can
that'd be
be
so
the
funny.
person that gives you the vape. So we're gonna read our stories now. I have a title for mine, but it spoils a bit, so I'm not gonna say it.
And your story, to clarify, it was based
Yes,
off a nightmare. You said.
it's based off a nightmare I had. It's actually pretty similar. I made a few changes and obviously added more details because when you remember dreams, you don't remember as many details and more just the vibe. So I tried to like convey the vibe.
When you're ready, let's hear this story.
His superior was strict, a strange and tall man with a stoic face, eyes holding him prisoner. Every pinch of salt he drizzled, every ounce of cream and liquor. The tall ceilings of the restaurant hung over him like a fog. The dim lighting and dark blue interior, the parlor where the bar was. His nausea wasn't as bad when others were around. They muted the bad taste in his mouth. The air felt the worst when he was left alone with the head chef. The fog would make him dizzy. The head chef would get these eyes, darkened and swirling with intent. Each meal he prepared after hours, the tall man would devour. Each drop of gravy, every crumb and every bone. He could never forget the sound of him chewing the bones, the crunching, the awful strain in his jaw, and how his face twisted in delight. After a year under his care, the head chef mysteriously died. The fog didn't ease up. He'd taken over the job as the head chef, and with the job came increasingly intense feelings. His stomach dropped every time the newest hire was in his presence, predatory instincts taking over like a drug. inhaling with the wish to grasp her scent. The large pan he was working with on the stove contained a broth he'd let putter for hours. He kept tasting it, but it was missing something that he just couldn't put his finger on. He frantically threw in spices, herbs, and pinches of pepper. Nothing seemed to change the taste. It was so full of flavor, but he might as well be tasting the dust on the floor.
Yum.
As soon as she yeah, as soon as she walked in the door, he inhaled deeply, her scent mixing with the soup. How heavenly it was. He'd tremble, hands wanting to grab her and shake her over the broth. Okay. Now, every time he cooked, he wanted her to come taste it, so he could get her to come closer to the heat of the stove. Every meal she prepared, he'd taste and then devour. He could taste her, pieces of dead skin, hear her scent. He'd panic at night, unable to sleep, wrangling his covers into twists. He knew he'd tipped the point of insanity when he devoured the pet fish in his aquarium. Not even cooking the fish like he'd been dreaming of doing every night. But Rebecca, she was different. Now he'd throw up each time he ate a normal meal, unless it was cooked by her. He'd lick the spoons she'd used. He'd crawl on the floor searching for strands of her hairs. He remembered how the previous head chef had licked the plates, crunched on bones with those hollow eyes. Now he knew. It was a curse he'd inherited. He heard Rebecca say something, but it didn't register. He let his tight limbs loosen and his clenched jaw fall. He pushed her so she stumbled forward. The soup she was making spilled, burning her hand. He barely heard her scream over his beating heart. The scent of burnt raw flesh all consuming. The live jazz music playing from the dining room muted her cries. It was as if he blinked and the world had changed and unfolded before him. He opened his eyes to a half-eaten carcass on the cold tiles beneath him, the wall painted in streaks of soup and blood. He sat back against the wall, colors blending together on his white shirt. He smiled, lighting up one of his cigarettes. His voice sounded deeper, older. Don't you think the world is such a strange place, Rebecca?
I
Done.
love that whole concept. That is,
Mm.
how do I even, where do I even start with that? I think I was so caught and drawn in by that entire concept. I just,
Really?
I was very enamored by it and the way that it kind of played out. I would definitely want to hear more of this. I would want to read a whole book about this. I'd want to watch a movie about
Wow.
this. Just that really strange sort of obsession and the curse and everything about that. I really loved. It's maybe my favorite. I wouldn't say it's my favorite thing you've written because I think you've written way better than this before. But the
Yeah.
actual idea, I think, is and the concept, I think, is maybe that might be my favorite of yours so far. Like the actual idea of it is maybe my
Mhm.
favorite of the things you've done so far. The writing, not your
Yeah.
best, but
Yeah, I know.
the other parts, for sure.
Mhm.
Um, and I also think I know you were stumbling a little bit, but the second half you were reading after you had the little issue in the middle and we had a little break to speaking, I think your actual reading got better after that.
Yeah, I was really trying to slow down. My problem is that if I'm stressed, I can't focus at all.
Yeah,
So, like trying to focus on reading is kind of hard. Yeah, I need to practice my reading out loud.
but no, yeah, I really did like this whole thing. I really liked the part. My favorite part of this was when you said, "Now he'd throw up each time he ate a normal meal, unless it was cooked by her. He'd lick the spoon she'd used. He'd crawl on the floor searching for strands of her hairs." And I'm just imagining. I thought that was such a good sentence. I really loved that. I thought that was really really good. That's the part that convinced me. I want to see more of this. I want to see a movie of this. I want to see this
Mhm.
freaky guy crawling around the floor, getting these spoons and the hairs and stuff. It's really uncomfortable, but I like it. I liked it a lot. So
Yeah.
tell me, what was the actual dream you had that inspired this?
So, I did dream about like a chef or like a kitchen type of environment, and there was some sort of strange energy, and yeah, the chef like ended up eating people, and yeah, and then other people started eating people. So or like one person. I don't really remember the details,
Mhm.
but it was a very strange dream.
It sounds like it,
Yeah,
but I like what you've kinda done with it there. You've kinda it's actually the dream seems more vague than your story. Your story, you've actually taken it in a total different direction, so I like that
yeah.
you've doubled down on certain parts.
The dream felt very like cursed, felt like a curse, and that was like the idea that it's.
Meow to you too.
Peace. Now I can say the title: The Chef That's Doomed to Eat Everything He Loves.
I can see him eating statues. He's eating his bed sheets. That's my favorite set of bed sheets. Now I'm eating those. I really love my house. I guess it's time to eat my house.
No, he did eat his pet fish.
Brick by brick. Do people really love their pet fish? Is that a horrible thing to say? I feel like I couldn't love a
I hope
fish.
so.
I could love a cat.
No, they're cute.
I could love some sort of animal like that. I'm not sure I could love a fish.
No, because I see it differently after I watched a video of this woman teaching her fish yes and no. Because it had like a round circle that was red and a round circle that was green. And when she asked it, like, do you want snacks? It always went to the green circle. Isn't that precious?
Sure, but I think a lot of those things you have to be careful because I don't think that's the fish necessarily understands. I think that's just pattern recognition. The fish realizes that if I
Yeah,
go over there, I get snacks. So it goes over
yeah,
there to
but
get
that's some
snacks.
sort of understanding.
Sure, but it's very basic. It's not like it's thinking, I'm going to go play chess now, or I'm going to understand that you're sad.
Bro, my cat doesn't play chess, but she's very sweet.
Have you tasted her?
But she does like when I cry, she comes up to me and licks my tears away. So
Yeah. That's the thing I know dogs do as well. They can very
yeah.
in tune with your emotions. So.
Oh, my dog, he didn't give a fuck when I was sad. He just looked at me like this, and then he didn't. He did nothing. Like so she cares
That was an
more.
aggressive meow. Yeah, no, I liked it, and as I said, I thought the idea was really good. It's again not your. I don't think it was the best thing you've written, but the actual ideas behind it, to me, is one of the more interesting things you have written. I'm often, as you know, I like ideas to be honest more than great writing. Like
Mm,
I'm more happy to read something that's got a really cool or
mm-hmm,
strange idea that's maybe not written the best. I would rather read
hmm,
that than something that's written perfectly
mm-hmm.
but the idea is boring. So I can
Sure.
appreciate when you've got a
Yeah,
good idea, even if it isn't your best work. So
I can like both. I like reading sort of creative writing with a lot of like ideology
mhm.
and sort of like pretty words and poem like
Yeah, yeah,
things. But also, I like writing and reading fantasy, and a lot of times it's just a lot of ideas.
yeah.
Um, and it doesn't have to be the best writing, I guess.
I guess that's just the thing with writing is everyone likes to focus on different aspects of things.
Yeah,
It's like how some people might take 2 pages to describe someone opening a door and walking into a room, whereas
yeah.
someone else probably you're probably more like the person doing that when you're opening the door slowly and explaining all the details of everything around. Whereas I'm more the opposite of no, he walked through the door. He walked through the door and there was a crazy dragon with 5 heads inside.
I feel like I try to focus more on describing things in a creative way.
Mhm.
That's what I try to focus on. That's why sometimes I do well. But when I don't focus on that, it turns out, like you said, just he walked through the door.
Moving on to my story. So this was a strange. I actually think I might have told you this dream I had. I'll tell you about the dream after once I actually read this.
Oh,
Because you were actually in this dream. You're not in the story that I've
me?
written. Yeah, you're not in the story I've written. But
Oh,
in the
damn.
original dream, you were in the dream. But anyway, I'm
Okay.
going to read the story now, and then we can talk about that. In a perfectly normal house, beside a tall wooden tower, in a street full of magic, with mystery and power, lived a girl unlike any other, only 6 inches tall, so tiny and neat, in a pink little suit, with no shoes on her feet, always carrying a little black handbag with her everywhere she went. Her name was Hilda, and she was a giraffe. Unlike others of her kind, Hilda walked on her hind legs, could talk, and even enjoyed doing the odd crossword puzzle. Each day after her breakfast, it was nothing if not peculiar. 3 oats, a gummy bear, and a shot of semi skimmed cow's milk. Hilda would climb up onto the roof of her human sized house and get into her Hilda sized rocket. With a whoosh, she would launch high into the sky before leaping from the aircraft and parachuting down into the tower next door. In the tower, there lived an exuberant man named Hector, whose camel like features and tendency to spit as he spoke reminded Hilda very much of her uncle Cammy. Hilda had long been dependent on Hector's generosity, but lately had been feeling a need to be more financially independent. But unfortunately for Hilda, being a giraffe meant that she could not legally have her own bank account. She pondered for weeks before eventually broaching the topic with Hector, who, of course, was eager to help out. He told her it would not be a problem, and that he would pull some strings for her, just so long as she gave him 30% of all her earnings. Hilda concluded that this was such a great deal for her, as 30% of nothing was still nothing. She had nothing to put in her bank account, but she thought that just having one was sure to bring her comfort. Despite her fondness for the charitable Hector, Hilda was never quite comfortable when visiting his home, for in his tall tower there dwelled another, Hector's sister Wilma, whose face resembled that of a sickly mouse following facial reconstructive surgery, was a grieving widow. Hilda did not necessarily have any grievances with widows, but Wilma, as a widow, had become a frightening, malicious presence. Whenever she caught Hilda alone, Wilma would seize her by the nape and force feed her thick clumps of blue hair. Where Wilma got the hair, or why it was blue, was a mystery to Hilda, and frankly, she was not so eager to find out. In the 3 years since her husband's passing, Wilma had not been able to move on. She spent day and night looking for ways to somehow resurrect or communicate with her lost love. Her latest scheme, bought from a travelling bear named Shambles, was an especially strange one. Shambles had convinced Wilma that in order to resurrect Arlen, she needed to fill Hilda with coloured hair, place her in a deep, tight cave, and wait for her to vomit the hair back up in the shape of a whale. According to Shambles, this whale shaped creation would somehow bring Arlen back from the dead. Hilda, understandably, was not a fan of this plan. She had grown ill from all the hair Wilma forced upon her, and eating it had become unbearable. Sometimes, when Wilma tried to shove another clump of hair down her throat, Hilda would snap back, biting Wilma's fingers. In return, Wilma would spit on Hilda's spots and growl in frustration. Hilda had had enough. She decided that she would stop visiting the tower altogether. Instead, she found herself exploring parts of her own home that she never even knew existed. In the attic, Hilda came across a plate of fruit. Hilda had never seen fruit before, and so she was not at all spooked when she found it levitating and conversing. For weeks, Hilda returned to the attic every afternoon to spend time with her new fruity friends. All the while, she could not help but gaze at one specific piece of fruit, wondering where she had heard his name before. Arlen. So,
Wow, it's about your little friends.
my little friend.
That's so cute. I yeah, I'm just I think it's so cute. Also, we both had hair licking in our
We
stories.
did.
Somehow
We had hair. We did.
we had hair lickers in
I
our
did.
stories.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that till right now. You're right.
Insane,
Disgusting.
actually. No, because the part about spitting it out as a whale is the funniest thing to me. It just is
Well,
so unique. I like the
yeah.
idea.
So that was part of the dream. So the actual dream
Mm.
was I was living in a little house with Hilda. And
Mhm.
for some reason, Hilda the giraffe, who's normally this little fluffy toy, she had turned plastic and she was alive and she could walk around. And you lived next door in a big castle, a big wooden castle.
Fuck yeah.
And so every day for some reason, I was putting Hilda into this little rocket I had got for her, and I would send her over next door to visit you. And she would parachute down into the castle for some reason. Anyway, that
Wow.
was something that
Hilda.
happened there. She then asked me, she told me she wanted her own bank account. And I said, sure, Hilda, I'll get you a bank account since you can't open one, but I want
Mhm.
30% of your income. So I'm being horrible. I
Wow.
want Hilda's income. And
Yeah, I
then,
think you told me a bit about this
yeah, I think I did.
dream.
And then it was weird because it was the same dream, but the rest of it was disconnected. So the other part was suddenly my gran was there, um, and my grandpa died a few months ago, and so it was her husband. And for some reason, in this dream, I think this was around the time he had just died, and my gran was really upset about it, and she was taking her anger out in the dream on Hilda. And so every time she saw Hilda, she was forcing Hilda to eat the hair. I don't know why. She was like, Hilda, I hate you. And she was forcing Hilda to eat blue hair. And then there was apparently something she had seen on TV, or she had been convinced by something, that there was this big whale painting. It was a painting of a blue whale
Mm-hmm.
that was diving. And she was convinced that if she did this stuff to Hilda and made her eat enough hair and stuffed her down into a deep, tight cave, Hilda would vomit out this hair in the same shape as this painting and recreate it. And then this painting was a secret to bringing her husband back from the dead.
Yeah.
And then in
Wow.
the same dream again, the third part was I was talking to my mum, who lives next door to my gran, and for
Mm-hmm.
some reason we went into the attic because we heard strange noises. And when we peeked into the attic, there was just a plate of fruit, and we thought it was haunted for some reason. I don't know why we thought it was haunted. We don't know where the fruit came from. There was just a plate of fruit in the attic, and we thought it was haunted. And so that was the dream, and those were the three main parts. And so for me, the dream was kind of like, let's combine these things somehow. Let's turn it into something. And so I decided, okay, let's take you out of it. Let's take all the real people out of it and throw in Hilda. And then Hector, obviously, we've also got this other little toy, Hector, who's a camel. And I thought, okay, we'll make him a real man, but we're just going to say he looks like a camel. And then
Mm-hmm.
Wilma's a little mouse toy. So we thought, okay, we'll call this other. So I just started throwing in the names like that.
I like that you use the other little toys as well, instead of like using the people.
Yeah.
I think that made it more like interesting. It made it more connected.
I also, my initial idea, I don't know if you noticed, but the first paragraph started a little bit different from the rest, and it had a lot of rhymes in it. So it was like,
Mm-hmm.
in a perfectly normal house beside a tall wooden tower, in a street full of magic with mystery and power. And then it was the little
Oh,
part about the only 6 inches tall, so tiny and neat, in a pink little suit with no shoes on her feet. So
that's
I
so
started off the
cute.
whole idea. I wanted to make this a story almost in the style of Dr. Seuss, like the Cat in the
Oh,
Hat and that sort of
yeah.
stuff. And that's how he talks, and that's how he writes in
Mm-hmm.
his books. And so that was my
True.
initial idea, but I was finding it kind of hard to do it. And I was like, if I do this, I'm never going to get this written. So
Mm-hmm.
I did maybe half of the next paragraph, and I said, you
Mm-hmm.
know what, I'm going to stop. And I kind of canceled it out, and I left the beginning, but
Mm-hmm.
because I did like it and I couldn't get away from it. But yeah, I kind of wish I had just gone for it and gone the whole thing, because I did think it had a good flow with that rhymes. I
It
like the rhymes that give
did.
it a bit of fun to it. But yeah, that was the initial idea.
Just doing it sometimes in a story can really set the vibe. I don't think you have to do like rhymes for the whole
Mm.
story. I like the vibe. I like the flow of everything. I just mostly I enjoyed that you used your friends in this.
My friends, I love that you call them my friends when they're little stuffed animals.
Aren't they your friends? Like you take them out to dinner and everything.
I don't take them out to dinner. They all live in my grandmother's handbag. She's the one who takes them out to dinner.
True, but you're in on it.
Yeah.
Also, you bring your little rat friend now,
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, I bring
mouse.
Dimitri, my little mouse. Yeah, get it
So
right. He's not a
you're
rat.
could have been a rat, you
The
know?
only reason I take Dimitri anywhere is because he has a gun, and I don't want to upset him. If I upset him, he may shoot
Oh,
me.
wow, little rascal. Don't
Yes, it
laugh.
does. I don't know why it was funny. Just the way you said it was so funny.
Like, what do you think makes you dream such like crazy, silly things?
I think I dream crazy, silly things because in day to day life, I talk about a lot of crazy, silly things. I constantly talk about weird ideas. Just that's my humor to some extent, is I like being absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah,
And I have a bit of a problem. You could say it's a problem, but I take jokes too far, like the silly things. That's originally why I wrote my very first book. It was someone said, you should write a book, ha ha ha, because you're good at telling bullshit or something. And so I went home and I wrote a book in 6 weeks and I published it. And it was just
Insane.
and it was a joke. The book was a joke. It was a fake autobiography about myself, and I did that, and I've done it with YouTube videos. I've done it with things. I take a silly little thing that doesn't really mean anything, and I just go with it, and I commit to the bit every
Mm-hmm.
time. I commit to the bit, and it's even if it's like Hilda, the little giraffe toy, and
Yeah,
it's as soon as it's a thing, I don't give up on it. It just keeps going forever, and
true.
everyone else eventually gives up. It's not funny anymore, but to me, it actually makes it funnier because everyone else gets so annoyed with it. It makes it even funnier to me.
Yeah, everyone's like, oh, he's still going?
Yeah, and that's also why
He's
people
still going?
sometimes, for example, if viewers don't know, I got internet attention from making videos about Australia being fake as a joke. And I went with it for so long and never admitted it for years. I never admitted it on my channel really for years that it was a joke, and I kept making the videos. But the reason people believed me wasn't because that I was super convincing or anything in what I said or anything like that. People believed I was serious because I went with it for so long and never gave up on it. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what convinces people. And so sometimes I think people probably think I'm a little insane with these little toys because one time it's like, oh, it's just a little joke. But after they've seen me 2 years later, I've still got this little toy. Maybe they start to think there's a problem there. But to me,
Mm.
that makes it funnier. So that's
I
what
think you just have to see that once to know you're insane.
probably, yeah. I was,
Yeah.
I think I told you it was when I was just in London a couple of weeks ago, and I went to see Shrek the musical, and I had Wilma, the little mouse toy, and I had Shrek ears on, and I'm sitting here taking a selfie with Wilma and the Shrek ears. And there's this
I
old
love that.
couple sitting beside me, this random old couple, and the woman she turns and she just looks at me like this. And she turns away, and I went, I promise I'm not insane. And she didn't even look back or say anything. She just kind of sat there.
You can't say that. That's gonna creep people out, man. I promise I'm not insane. Hello, you over there.
That's great. Yeah.
But yeah,
Should,
you actually just admitted that it's a long running joke. The Australia thing
okay, but
on camera.
I've also done that on my channel. But what happened was I've done it I think I've done it twice, maybe even 3 times. But what happened was when I admitted it, the comments, no one believed me that I was joking. They said, "You're only saying this now to try and save face. You're only saying this now to try and because you look stupid and you get hate. So now you're trying to say it's a joke to save yourself." So that's that. So they genuinely didn't believe me after I actually admitted it.
Wow,
So yeah.
that's some delusion. They're more delusional than you.
More delusional than me? I'm not delusional. That's so rude.
You're not? Well, I'm delusional.
Delulu.
I'm very delusional.
Very Delulu. Anyway, should we move on?
Anyways, yeah, we're gonna do a game, right?
Game. We're going to do a
A
game. A
game.
game. A game. A game. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do a little writing game. So you might have seen these before in some of our past episodes, but what we're going to do is we're each going to write a poem. We're going to set a timer for 10 minutes. So if you want to join in, you can do this as well. You're going to set a timer for 10 minutes. And what we're going to do here is we are each going to write a poem. It has to be 2 verses. First verse, any length you want, but the first verse has to be about some sort of dream. It doesn't have to be a dream you've had, it just has to be about the subject of dreams. First verse is dream. Second verse has to be about the subject of nightmares. So it's going to take a darker turn. So first verse dream, second verse nightmare. And now what we're also going to do is each of us have come up with a word that we don't know yet. So we're going to say these words, and these words have to be included anywhere in the poem. So what's your word?
Cobwebs.
Cobwebs. My word is snail. This is going to be an interesting one for sure. We're not using
Shapers.
meow. Should we? Should
She
we
had
throw
a
in
word
meow?
too.
Meow's a
She
third
had a
word?
word. No,
No?
no,
No?
no. That's
Sure?
stupid. It's gonna get too silly for me. You know, I like
Okay.
writing serious stuff.
Okay.
You can work with silly things better.
Okay. So cobweb and snail. I'm getting the timer ready now. You have 10 minutes. So anyone at home who wants to join in, 10 minutes. 2 verses, dream, nightmare, cobweb, snail. 3, 2, 1, go.
This sucks.
So how do
This
you feel it went?
sucks.
You feel like it went badly?
So I'm pretty distracted. My cat's biting me right now. Uh, I think some of it is good, some of it is less good.
Okay.
Stop biting me, you crazy cat. Stop it.
I feel like I never mine went a little bit weird. It's not really how I intended to go about it, but I'll just read it anyway. Dusting off the cobwebs, the dream machine reboots. Years of missing wonder. The Sandman smiles again. But too soon his smirk had formed, as the shell of dreams had broken. The eternal snail was missing. To slumber was to weep. I don't even know if I like how that sounds, but the idea here was kind of that. I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory.
The
Dusting off. There's
eternal
actually, yeah,
snail.
there's actually a dream machine that's being turned on, and so they're dusting off the
Wow.
cobwebs. It's been off for a long time. The Sandman's smiling because he's bringing in the dreams. It's very hopeful. The dream machine's up again, but then it switches. His smirk was too soon because the
Mm-hmm.
shell of dreams, the machine itself, we're calling it a shell of dreams, it had broken. The eternal snail. It could be a real snail, maybe not, but it's just a little metaphor there. It's just the eternal snail. Whatever was holding this thing together, the magic that produced the dreams, is kind of gone. And so now it's been replaced with something not quite as pleasant, not quite as good. And so now everyone who's going into sleep, it's not very
Mm-hmm.
hopeful. To slumber is to weep. It's sad. It's a nightmare. It's horrible.
Dude, I love the sound of the eternal snail was missing. Like an eternal snail. That's so cool to me. Like I imagine this like godly being. Um
Yeah. This a snail that's basically
yeah.
the one that's powering all the dreams.
Yeah,
And
that's
then the
so
machine's
cool.
essentially the dream machine is essentially the shell
Mm-hmm.
of the snail. So that's where I threw it together. Okay, let's hear yours. I'm curious to see what you did.
Let's walk down to the creek, a voice said so meek. The night shifts with the angry gale, squinting for snails on the slippery trail, dodging cobwebs on the trees, cracks in ice, watching the lake freeze. The dreams from yesterday coming to mind, the purple ice from her vision she struggled to find.
You were very intent on getting those rhymes, weren't you?
Yeah.
That's the first thing I
Yeah.
noticed. Yeah, I like the purple ice. I don't know why. I just the image of purple ice is quite I don't know. I can't imagine
Yeah.
purple ice. Well, I can imagine purple ice is what I'm imagining right now. But yeah. Let's walk down to the creek. A voice said so meek. I liked how that one sounded. I liked how that part
Yeah,
sounded.
I like that the best too. I feel like I didn't have to try so hard with the first rhymes,
Mm,
but I always when I have a timer, I
mm.
feel like the rhymes just I have to stumble for the rhymes. I have to like really try hard, and that shows in the writing, you know.
Yeah, I definitely what I would say is out of our games, I think from what I remember, this might be one of my least favorite of your poems from the games, but I think it's because we did two in the same thing.
Yeah.
Whereas normally you have, I know it was the same amount of time, but it is still
Mm-hmm.
different when, like, we did two things in 10 minutes, but there is something still different because you know you've got the other one in the back of your mind the whole time, so you do
Yeah.
approach it a little bit differently. So I think that was probably why, and I think it kind of shows because I think sometimes you will get sort of the thing out and then you'll refine it a little bit and you'll have the time to do that. Whereas I feel like you
Yeah.
probably wrote it down and then you were like, oh no, I need to get onto the next verse.
Yeah. I didn't
So
refine anything,
yeah,
so it is what it is.
yeah. I'm trying to see I'm not sure I feel the sort of transitioning into a nightmare from a dream.
No, I didn't have time to think
Yeah,
about that, so
so
I didn't.
yeah.
Well,
I know you've got the
we
night
didn't even
shifts part,
say.
but
Yeah, but we didn't say. You didn't exactly say we had to do that, did you?
I didn't say we had to shift it. I said what we had to do, what we were supposed to do is one verse was supposed to be about a dream and one about a sort of nightmare, and then you were to link them somehow.
Okay, yeah, it's not that. It's not exactly what I did, but it's like since both, it's kind of vague.
It's still dreamy though. There's
Um,
still the dreaming part at least.
yeah.
And that's the most important part. And it's, to be honest, it does lean towards a nightmare because it is kind of spooky. There's a bit of spookiness to it with the
Yeah.
cobwebs and the cracks in the
But the
ice.
start is more happy. It's like, let's walk down to the creek, you know?
See, I
That's
never
fun.
see. I didn't think of
That's
that as
fun.
happy because for some reason to me, creek is like a spooky thing. I don't know why. Just the word creek makes me think of something eerie.
Oh, but it's fun. I like going
Really?
to the creek.
I don't know if I've ever been to a creek.
I don't know either, but it's like, it sounds like an adventure, you know? Yay, let's go to the creek.
I'm not sure, but yeah, but it's like a spooky adventure. It's like I'm going to go to the creek
Yeah.
and find the witch.
Yeah, but
It's
that's not a nightmare. That's like a fantasy fun
true,
time.
I guess, but there's still something a bit
Mm-hmm.
spooky to says,
True.
and
But I usually write spooky things anyway,
you do,
so I
you
guess
do.
a normal dream, that's just a normal
Yeah, not a
dream.
nightmare to most people. Just yes, that was nice. That was cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but from the story earlier, that was actually something I was scared. Like I woke
Mm.
up scared from that
Oh, okay.
dream because
Interesting.
it was very intense
Mm.
in the dream. And there was a lot of details I didn't include that felt like very grotesque, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think my favorite part was either the purple ice from our vision. I like the purple ice, and I also like the first two lines. I
Hmm.
liked how they sounded. Let's walk down to the creek. Voice said so meek. I like
Yeah,
those
that's my
parts.
favorite part too.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted a more like fun vibe at first, but I didn't follow through, I guess.
Mm. I think these games are always a bit hit or miss. Sometimes you
Yeah.
just get the idea and you get it and you write it down and it's
True.
great. Other times, if you don't get the idea, you're just doomed. If you don't get the idea, you're screwed.
I feel like I also thrive in my editing. That's
Mm.
where I uh, have the best sort of ideas and best sort of like ideas for how to like structure
Yeah.
things
When you
for the
revisit.
sentences, how to um, yeah, I need to think a lot about it. I can't just, it doesn't flow very easily for me when I write. It's
Yeah.
not like I can come up with things fast, so that's
Mm.
why I need to spend a lot of time editing and stuff. So when I spend less time on a story, it shows. I feel like
Yeah. That's fair.
you're better at like going fast and coming up with things fast. I feel like
Yeah, but I think that I develop ideas very quickly,
yeah.
but I often sacrifice sort of the actual writing itself for the ideas. Which
Mm,
again, if I'm making the actual writing good, it needs to. That's usually on like a second draft or something. Anyway, anyway, we did a game. We did our stories. We discussed some dreams. The dream episode is done.
yes.
Done.
Thanks for watching. We've had a fun time talking about our dreams, writing about our dreams. Hope you guys will be inspired to maybe write something about your dreams or write them down after this, maybe.
And don't forget, we also had fun dreaming our dreams. That's the
No.
most. No. Okay, maybe some of them, other ones, not a fun time. They were terrible. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't be so negative.
I'm not negative.
Anyway, all of our links, as always, ghostbookarchive.com. Get all of our links there to all of our socials. Share your writing with us. All the rest of it. We will be back again with a brand new episode next week. Until then,
Yes.
goodbye.